Predaplant. Yep. Predaplant is a deck comprised of mainly dark plants that place counters on the opponent's monsters to fuse with them. And also, like, ball dragons, though it's always been very lacking in its actual plays. Like, you know, searching a fusion spell every combo is pretty cool with Darlingtonia, but trust me, opening it is not. However, have you ever considered, instead of searching one fusion spell in your combo, you could search two? This deck is not awful anymore. And we don't need the branded cards to play now. Let's start with a little card overview here. And I'm only going to talk about the good cards. We don't talk about Banksy Ogre. Now, FYI, I have made a big Google Doc of like a bunch of Predaplant combos and like info about all the cards and shit. I will link that in the description. Despite how I present myself, I am not perfect. This is like the 5th take I'm doing for this exact line. If I do end up making any mistakes in this video, I'll put them in a pinned comment down below. And also, if you spot any of said mistakes, if they do exist, then please do tell me about them so I can put them there. Also, there's timestamps in the description if you want to skip ahead because you're rude and like to interrupt people. First off, we got Ophrys, Scorpio, and Darlingtonia Cobra, the main two that everyone know, and everyone has played in like engines in fucking like 2017. I don't remember. Scorpio is still kind of like one of our best starters in the deck, despite forcing you to go down a card at the very beginning of the combo, just because the body is really nice for the new synchro stuff that we'll get into in a bit. You pretty much always want to run 2 or 3 copies, depending on if you have any supplementary engines. I will not be going into too much depth about the supplementary engines you can play in this deck. There's Aroma, there's Branded, there's fucking, I don't know. They're outside the scope of this video currently. If you'd like some ideas about the Aroma stuff, you can watch Sunseed Jets' video. Or if you'd like info on the Branded shit, you can join the Predaplant Discord. Although in my experience, with the new Branded cards and everything, playing Branded Predaplant in like modern day with Branded Fusion and whatever just feels like playing Branded but worse. Then there's Darlingtonia Cobra. Do not play 2 of this card. I swear to fucking God. Please. There used to be kind of an argument for playing 2 copies of this card because like your combos were so much worse if you didn't get to summon the Cobra because, you know, you didn't get your access to Branded Fusion. Oh no, fucking. But now we have ways to summon it even though you open it. Thank fuck. I mean, like, the combos are still worse than if you didn't open it, but just play one. Then we got Biblis, the guy everyone wants to kill and murder and maim. He searches a monster when he's sent to the graveyard, and you can bring him back if there's a predator counter on the field. And he gives you a panic attack mid-combo trying to decide whether you want to use Longinephila's effect to place the counter to get the Biblis body, or if you want to reset this fusion. You can technically get away with 1 copy for like all of the combos. However, if you run 2, you're gonna notice how nice it is in the grand game. Just letting you know. Then we've got Chlamydo Sundew, Predaplant Chlamydia. He fuses with your opponent's monsters if they have counters, or otherwise is just like a normal poly on legs. It's like, it's pretty neat, but it's also not necessary most of the time. You can get the same like getting rid of your opponent's monsters with predator counters effect with just summoning Ambula Melodies. You can choose to play 1 copy if you want, but I would not recommend it in this current day and age. Then there's Bufalicula and Triantis, the Pendulum guys. They're pretty good. I mean, I personally run them. They give you higher ceiling endboards and don't feel that horrible to draw. Big asterisk there. Bufalicula is just like a once per turn polymerization that you can very easily search with your engine, and Triantis lets you fuse with your scales and also places counters on everything when it's fused away. Oh yeah, also Bufalicula adds back Predaplant Pendulum monster from the face-up extra deck when he's used as fusion material. This is literally always Triantis. As we will discuss a little more later as well, this deck does have a little bit of a problem with Raigeki, and one way to beat it, technically, would be to just like leave your scales unfused and then use Ball to go into Cavern Venom or some shit on the opponent's turn. And we got Saraceniant. Searches you a card when he's sent to the graveyard from the field by either battle or card effect, and is also randomly like a really shitty battle fader. He used to be better before, but now we have like a shit ton of ways to search cards, so I don't know. There's still some combos that use him, but He's like one of the worst bricks in the deck. I don't really recommend him anymore. Then we got Spider Orchid, a pen scale 8 that's just an MST that you can search really easily. This card, oh my god, I love this card so fucking much. Being able to just like out a floodgate so easily, like in engine, is just the fucking cream on the pie. You don't really want to main deck it though, because it's not that good drawing going first, and even going second it's like kind of iffy. You cited in going second. What do you want me to say? Then we got Practice. This one's a little bit complicated. It summons a guy from your hand and then it adds you a Predap card from your deck to your hand, but then locks you into fusion summoning for the rest of the turn. It's like kind of an extender technically. The thing is, like, you never want to start with this card because you want to go into your synchros at the start of your combos now to play around Nibiru. So if you really want to extend with this card, you'll need to have this plus another Predaplant in your hand, making it not really that good of an extender to begin with. But like, it's kind of good still if you're done with your synchroing. I've seen lists playing this card. Put one up on the screen. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Anyway, its like main purpose nowadays is like you play it with Saraceniant and then you search them both during your combo, and then you get like a shitload of extra searches if you want to end on like the trap. Though personally, I've completely cut both of these cards just for non-engine space because it's Yu-Gi-Oh! And you kind of need hand traps. Before you get your Ash Blossoms, you get your Fualos, you get your fucking Dominus Impulse. And there's Pruning. It's like what's that fucking equip spell called? It's like Monster Reborn, but an equip spell. This card can revive Ambulo Melodies, so you can have an extra fusion body that's a fusion monster. You can make your Preda powers a little more easily or whatever. I don't know what the fuck you freaks make. There's also, I've seen some combos bringing back Ambu and then synchroing with the longinephila to make the Mud Dragon synchro and then go into like a bunch of branded lines, send on a Mirror Jade as well. I don't really know any of that too well. That takes up like your entire extra deck. I don't want to do that. I'm getting fucking sidetracked. Anyway, you can also use it like as follow-up technically. Like you can use it to revive like your Dragostopelia or whatever. Then we've got our only like real play into Fualos. Predaplanting, the trap card. It places a counter on everything and foolishes a Biblisp on activation, so you like your guaranteed follow-up for the next turn. It's not that good into Fualos. Our deck struggles against Fualos. Our deck struggles against hand traps in general. We'll get there. Fucking hell. Shit, Dusty. Oh yeah, I haven't really talked about counters. So Predator counters. They're counters you place on monsters on the field that turns them into level 1s that our deck interacts with in different ways. You got Dragostopelia that negates the opponent's monsters with the counter. You can tribute them off for Nebula Mellies. You fuse them with the Chlamydia. You gain attack with the Trifio Veritum, etc, etc. As a ruling thing, if the card that placed the counter leaves the field, the counter stays permanently. Unless the monster that had the counter is flipped face down and then flipped back up again, the counter does dissipate, but that's the only case that it actually does. Anyway, that's why planning is like kind of okay. Disrupt Synchro and Xyz decks by making their guys level 1. I was gonna mention here how that's like not that good against Yummy specifically, which is, oh no, Yummy, that's like the second best deck in the format or whatever. But then the ban list hit, and I don't really feel like I need to anymore. Also notably, planning has a graveyard effect that if you fusion summon, you can banish it to pop a card on the field. This is really fucking good. You can use it with your Balthea. Yay! This is like a thing you do when you side the card in going first. If you use your Draselea to send your Biblisp, you use your Primitive to send the planning. There's also Predaplanet. Shout out to the Predaplant's Discord server. But this card is not very good. You only ever play it as like a free send off your Primitive because it's a poly engrave. You banish it and then you fuse with Predaplants that you control. You can only fuse using Predaplant monsters, by the way. Note that. Can't use your Starving Venom or whatever. But you never want to fucking draw this card. It's really awful, and you don't really have a good way to discard it other than super poly. So, and then we got Plast. Don't play Plast. Then we've gotten to the fusion spells. You play fusion spells in the deck that searches the fusion spells. Wow, riveting. First off, we've got the lifeblood of the deck, Instant Fusion. This card summons Ambulo Melodies. And we got Super Poly, since we can search Super Poly. What the fuck do you want me to say about Super Poly? That's a good ass card. You want to play that. Also, do keep in mind, if you're gonna search Super Poly off your Primitive, you're gonna be locked into Plants and Dragons, and there's not that many good Super Poly targets that are that, unless your opponent's on like a pure dark deck. in which case you're winning anyway. But also note that specifically Draselea locks you for the entire turn, not just after you use her effect, meaning that if you use your super poly, you summon like a Garura or some shit, and then you try to activate your Draselea, that's an illegal activation, and you just can't activate it whatsoever. But you can like kind of circumvent this by just discarding the Draselea off the super poly. It's not that big a deal. And we got Polymerization. You get this card for free when you activate your Lizardos. Nope. You get this card for free when you activate your Lee Lizard. However, we've also got a little bit of another option that may be preferred in some cases. Fusion Substitute. This card is always treated as Polymerization, meaning you can search it off your Lee Lizard and it's good. It behaves just like Polymerization, but you can only fuse away your field with it. However, it also has a grave effect that you banish it, and then you target a fusion in your grave, you put it back in the extra deck, and then you draw a card. This effect is not once per turn. Did you know we can loop this card? I love Pot of Greed! Then we got into the extra deck. First off, we've got Ambulomelodies, the lifeblood of the... I already talked about how Instant Fusion is the lifeblood of the deck. It's because you summon this guy. It's Predaplant Kit Colors. He's really fucking good. He adds you a Predap card on summon, and then contribute a monster on either field with a Predator counter, or just one of your own monsters, to summon a different Predaplant from the deck. Then we got Chimeraplegia, which is kind of an old and like stinky card. I still run it, specifically because of Apex Poly. Then we got Dragostepelia, probably the most well-known Predaplant other than the two fucking dickheads. It's an easy to summon monster negate by putting a counter on a thing. More about Dragostepelia later. And we got Trifio-Veritum. It's like an OTK enabler. It gains attack equal to all the attack of all the monsters on the field with predator counters, which is pretty cool. It also has an effect to negate a summon from the extra deck. Only like an innate summon though. This effect is the most easy shit to play around ever. Do not end on this guy. And then we got Predapower. Predapower is good. This is an Omni negate. Quick effect negate. This is like one of our only good ways to like beat board breakers. Cool thing about this card, it's not just an Omni negate, it's an Omni negate by tributing a monster on either field with a predator counter. So you can have an Omni negate and also like a monster removal of one of your opponent's things by placing a counter on it. Pretty cool. Also notably is really fucking annoying to get rid of because it floats into any dark in the graveyard when it leaves the field by an opponent's card, including itself. Did you know this card is soft once per turn? And we got, oh, Bat Chest Duty. Oh, you can technically end on it with your primitive in the graveyard to pop it and then have a board wipe for your opponent, but that's like not really that good because it's like way too many layers of fucking triggers you need to click through. All right, let's discuss the new cards now. First off, we have Longinephila. This card is Stratos, but on crack. And also, like I mentioned a little bit earlier in the Biblist portion, it can banish itself to either reset a Polymerization from graveyard or banish, or you can place a counter on a monster on the field, which can also be pretty nice for board breaking. Also, remember, this card is a level 1, and it's a starter, so we can play 1-for-1. Then there's Lee Lizard, the Extender. Fucking finally. It's the card that enables all our substitute loops by searching Polymerization. And it also gives you a free-ass draw for some reason when you summon it out of the graveyard. I don't know what the hell Konami was on when designing these cards, but I want some of it. Then we've got Draselea. A card that is not a Predaplant, but also, let's be fucking real here, it's a Predaplant. I love Mathmech Circular. And it also special summons a dragon from the graveyard by banishing itself and another plant from the graveyard. This usually ends up with being just a free body to tribute with your Ambulomelodies on your first combo. It can bring back your Clearwing to fuse with after you've synchroed it off or some shit. I don't know what kind of cards you freaks play. You can reload your Bestials, that's pretty good. And is also like the main card that enables the skill drain combo that we'll get to eventually. And then there's Primitive. Oh boy. This card foolishes a Predaplant for cost on activation and then lets you add any fusion spell from your deck to your hand. Do note that it locks you into plants and dragons, but let's be fucking for real, that's not a real restriction. So like paired with Biblisp, it's just strictly like a +1. Then we've got Apex Polymerization, a bit of a complicated one here. It's a card that lets you target a monster on the field, either player's field, then summon a monster from your extra deck that's a fusion monster with the same type and attribute but with a different level, and then you send both to the graveyard to perform a fusion summon. And it's also like kind of an extender because you can use this card to target any like negated Predaplant on board to send your Chimeraplegia to the graveyard and then fusion summon Ambulomelodies right away. It also is like the main like easiest way to get to like Predapower and like other boss monsters. But beware, this card gives your opponent 2 draws into Fuhalas. But also do note that if your opponent is holding their Fuwalos waiting for you to summon some shit out of the extra deck, they can't actually chain Fuwalos to this card. So they just kind of stare at you while you summon twice from the extra deck while they can't do anything about it. So keep that in mind going first, like after siding or whatever. You might want to use this card a little bit earlier in your combo if you're trying to play around your Fuwalos. Also notably, this card can kind of like technically be a board breaker if you're playing against branded or, you know, Predaplants. Then there's the new extra deck, guys. We got Balthea. It's a Synchro Fortuner that non-target summons any Predaplant from the graveyard on Synchro Summon. You use this to get your free draw off your Lizard. And also this is your way of summoning back your Cobra if you open it, so you can discard it and then reborn it off this. Also, this card is kind of a disruption in the graveyard, because when your opponent summons something, you can banish this card and a polymerization from your graveyard to perform a fusion summon. Do note, again, this card needs to banish a polymerization from your graveyard. If you've done your draw 3 combo with looping fusion substitute, you can't do this. So like during your combo, at some point you need to decide like whether you value getting one more draw or being able to fuse in graveyard with Balthea. That depends on the matchup and whatever. Make the choice on your own. I'm not your god. Then we got Starving Venom Fusion Dragon of the 4 Heavenly Dragons. Why is his name so long? I will be referring to him as Heaven Venom from this point onwards, because, you know, it's a monster that's like a good super poly target. You summon this, and then on summon it negates a guy on your opponent's field and makes it dark, and then whenever they activate any card ever, can fuse with all darks on the field. Do note that, like, unless your opponent is playing a pure dark deck, this is like the easiest shit to play around ever. So I wouldn't always assume that you're going to be able to use this to get rid of like an opponent's card, but it's still a poly. That's kind of cool. Then finally we got Supreme King Starving Venom Wing Dragon, the newest, biggest, coolest fucking boss monster Konami decided to give us for some reason. My fucking knees hurt. Holy shit. Anyway, Supreme King Starving Venom fucking wing piss. It's a guy that can quick effect chain to any opponent's effect to pop a card on the field, which is pretty cool. And then also when your opponent special summons a thing, a trigger effect can negate it, which effectively makes it completely worthless if it's your turn, but like okay if it's your opponent's turn. And then also this card is kind of skill drain. In the pen scale, this monster places a counter on every monster your opponent special summons, which is kind of skill drain if you have a Dragostopelia on the field. Dragostopelia only negates the activated effects, not like continuous effects or whatever. Don't end up cheating, please. It's really easy to put him in the scale too, because he just scales himself if you pop him, and you can pop him with primitive, or you can pop him with himself. Now, with those out of the way, let's discuss some synchro cards. Yes, we play synchros now. Why? What the fuck? Well, you see, this deck would be really fucking weak to Nibiru if we didn't. But now, thanks to the new cards in Bramble Rose Dragon, we can go into a Crystal Wing at the start of every combo pretty much and just be immune. In fact, you can make 2. Then, if we choose to run the new Venom Wing skill drain guy, we kind of need to run Clear Wing. Do note that there's 2 options here. They just reveal the new Clear Wing, the Heaven Clear Wing. I'm not saying the full name, fuck you. Then you can also obviously run the old Clear Wing. Which one you want to run, I'm gonna say, is a little bit format dependent. The new one just pops a card on summon, while the old one is a level 5 or higher monster negate. So like if K9 is popular in the format, I'd play the old one probably. But the new guy is like a little bit more versatile. I don't know. It's a choice you have to make, not me. Then you got Fiend Skull Dragon and Androbyme. They're dragon fusions that are not level 7 that you can use Apex Poly on a Clear Wing to make your Venom Wing really easily. That's the entire purpose of these cards. Do note that Fiend Skull Dragon cannot be summoned off instant fusion. It would have been real nice to just be able to say fuck you to Eniocraft. We sadly have to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I know, literally 1984. And speaking of Apex poly targets, we got the Fallen and Virtuous package. Did you know that Albion is a dragon that is dark and level 8? Waha-wa-wa-wee-wa, that's the same level as Starving Venom. Oh no, we can't use Apex poly. We can actually. Just place a Predator counter on that bitch. I like this package a lot. I recommend running it. There's technically one more card we can use to beat board breakers. Eclipse, the Dragon Ruler guy. He's a spell negate. The way you make him is by using Ultra Poly to bring back a Clear Wing. You use your Draselea to bring back the Black Rose, and you smush them together and you get a thing. God, right, I haven't talked about Ultra Poly. Let's talk about Ultra Poly. My favorite card. Ultra Polymerization. Every Predaplant player's favorite card to draw going second. It's an inconspicuous card that fuses away monsters on the field and then can banish itself from the graveyard to summon back the materials used. pretty neat, pretty cool. The problem with this card is that you genuinely just don't need it. Your combos search 2 fusion spells. That is instant fusion and apex fusion 90% of the time. Ultra Poly only ever really comes up if you hard draw one of the others, and I would not place this card in my deck that I never want to see going second just for that. You can side it in going first to make Eclipse. There's a stupid, weird, woke gay ruling that if you summon a Starving Venom monster with this card, you can't summon back the materials because they're technically not monsters on the field anymore, which doesn't make them valid fusion materials. It's real dumb. Even fucking Sunseed Jess got this wrong in her video. I don't really like this card. I can recognize that my hatred for this card is mostly due to just having drawn it way too much in the older builds of Predaplant and hating it every single time. I dislike this card quite a bit. Now, since we run Super Poly in our deck, we got to talk about the Super Poly targets, right? There's a bunch now that you can play. They've announced like 5 throughout the last month. You can run them. They're good. Do note that our extra deck can get a little bit packed if you run the Albion package, right? Because you need to fit 1 Albion, you need to fit your Predapower, you need your Ecclesia. Finally, let's talk about non-engine. We got a lot of options in our deck. Kind of touched on this a tiny bit earlier. This deck fucking hates Droll and Fuva, both of them. They're awful. Keck W Droll on the last ban list. But like, for this reason, you generally want to run Called by an Ashen main and then probably cross out talents in your side. Anyway, sample deck list. Here's my deck list. Wow, my deck list is so cool. Don't you love Predaplants? Anyway, let's get into the combos. This deck does have 1 card combos now. It does have 1 card combos, but they're not as realistic because they're kind of way less good than the 1.5 card combos. You can still see them in the description Google Doc, but I won't be going over them in this video. So let's start off here with the 1.5 card Draselea combo. We're going to start by activating Draselea and sending a Biblisp from deck to graveyard. Biblisp triggers to add ophrys Scorpio. Reason we don't go just for like longinephila or something to not have to do the discard off the Scorpio to continue playing is because even if you do get stopped with like an Imperm or a Veiler or something, you're still better off having the Scorpio there instead of the longinephila, because then you can still climb up into a Crystal Wing. We go normal the Scorpio, summon longinephila, and add the primitive. And we go primitive, send Cobra here, because we want to summon a different thing from the deck with Ambulabilities, and then add the instant fusion. Then we go start synchro climbing here, go Balthea to revive the Cobra to get the trigger. Adds the Apex Poly. We go Bramble Rose. You don't need to use the effect here, I just did it to show that it's a thing you can do. Then you go into your Crystal Wing before you commit to the instant fusion. Summon Ombu, add the Lizard. Lizard summon and add Substitute. Then we go Ombu, tribute the Lizard to summon out Triantis from the deck. Then we can go Bramble Rose here to revive any Predaplant, it doesn't matter. Then we go Substitute away the 2 Predaplants, including the Triantis, to summon a Starving Venom. The other Starving Venom works just fine here too. But then we want to trigger the Triantis to put a counter on the Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, and also everything else, because why not? You need to put the counter on the Starving Venom so we can activate the Apex Polymerization to send Albion and make the Predapower. Then we go Fusion Substitute Draw. And then we go longinephila, reset the Fusion Substitute. Biblisp comes back. Let me Fusion Substitute them away. Biblisp gets banished. Whoops. Summon a Dragostapelia. Oh, I fixed it. Yeah, summon a Dragostapelia. Then we get the Fusion Substitute draw here. And in the end phase, we trigger Albion to set from deck a copy of the Fallen and the Virtuous. Next up here, we have the other Draselea 1.5 card combo. This one to end on the skill drain board instead. Draselea, dump Biblisp, summon itself. Biblisp adds Scorpio. Same reason as the other combo. Summon longinephila, add your primitive. This time we just foolish the Lizard to get the draw. off the Balthea. The reason we do this, by the way, is just to play around Nibiru better. You can technically like just send any card here and then activate your instant fusion to summon Ambula Melodies, then add the lizard and then summon the lizard to get the lizard into rotation. However, that is very weak into Nibiru. And I like getting the draw, so I usually send it here so that I can revive it. You can technically like send the trap or something instead and then just revive a Scorpio instead, but yeah. Add the instant fusion, make a Balthea, summon this back, and get the draw. Then we go Bramble Rose, synchro him off for a Crystal Wing. Then we start with the instant fusion here to go into Ambula Melodies, now that we're protected from Nibiru. Then we'll activate the lizard, add our fusion substitute, tribute it off to summon tribute it off to summon Darlingtonia. Then Bramble Rose revives the Balthea, so we can go into our Clearwing. We'll fuse them both off to make the Starving Venom Wing Dargan. We get the draw off the substitute, recycle the Ambu, and Draselea here can reborn the Clearwing. Then we can go Longinephila to place a counter, reborn the Biblisp, and then Apex Poly targeting the Biblisp to summon a Chimera Felicia and ship him off for a Dragostapelia. So then we end on the Crystal Wing Monster Negate, Clearwing situational-ish Monster Negate, Dragostapelia Negate, and the Wing Dragon to skill drain your opponent. Next up, I'm going to be showing off the standard Ophrys Scorpio combo. We're going to start with normal Ophrys Scorpio to summon the Longinephila. Longinephila adds the primitive Foolishes Biblisp to add instant fusion, and Biblisp triggers to add your lizard. We summon the lizard, add the substitute. Synchro him off for the Balthea to get the draw off the lizard. Bramble Rose effect is actually necessary to be used here, because you do need to summon the Black Rose so that you can have the Bramble Rose in graveyard, so you can get the tuner by banishing it here. And then get your Crystal Wing. Then we commit to instant fusion. And add the Triantis. Combo tributes the Scorpio to summon a Cobra from deck, and adds the Apex Faller. We'll scale the Triantis and fuse away the Cobra and the Triantis to make a Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Put a counter on it, and then Apex Poly away the Albion. You know how it goes. Or the Predaplant. Summon back the Biblisp, recycle Fusion Substitute to draw one, and then set it off the Longinephila. And we get the Dragostapelia, then get another draw off the substitute. And then in the end phase, we get the Fallen and the Virtuous. Pretty good. You get 3 draws, and you get Omni, Monster Negate, and the Pop. Pretty good. Do note that for pretty much all of these combos where I recycle the Fusion Substitute, you can also choose to not do it the second time, so your Balthea is live so that you can fuse on the opponent's turn in case you get like Dark Rulered or some shit. It depends on the matchup whether that's worth it or not. You need to make the judgment yourself. Here's the 1.5 card Longinephila combo, which is like technically supposed to end on like the same stuff as the Ophrys combo does, but if you want to play around a beer, it's going to be slightly worse, which I'll show here. Go normal Longinephila to add the primitive. Primitive Foolish the Biblisp, add your instant fusion. Biblisp adds the lizard. Pretty standard loop we've gone through a couple times now. Lizard, add the substitute. Then we Synchro Climb, getting a draw into the Crystal Wing. And again, you do need to use the Bramble Rose effect here. Go instant fusion now that we're protected from Nib. Use its effect to add the Triantis, and then tribute itself. effect summon the Cobra. Add the Apex Poly. Infuse away Triantis and Cobra for the Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. What the hell am I doing, dog? Use the effect to place the counters. Then we get the Biblis back. We Apex Poly to send the Albion. Fusion sub, draw a card. Longinephila resets the fusion substitute. And then we can here go into, if we want, fucking hell man, why is this card's name longer than my future? This card doesn't really do way too much here in this situation, unless you're up against like a dark deck, in which case it's kind of okay. But we're just doing this to put the fusion substitute in the grave again so that we can recycle and draw one. Which we do. And then in the end phase, Albion sets the Fallen and the Virtuous. Then we've got the 1.5 card Preda Primitive combo, which is pretty much exactly the same as the Ophrys Scorpio combo, but we just start with the Primitive instead. I'll show how you do that. You go activate the Primitive, Foolish the Biblisp, and then Biblisp just adds the Scorpio. And then you do the same exact shit, except Longinephila adds the Lizard directly instead of going into Primitive first. And then from here, it's the exact fucking same. I'll just speed it up. There you go. Same exact on board. Thank you for watching. This script is way too long. Do note that there are still some Predaplants that are in the anime that have not been printed yet, so me making this video now might have been completely pointless. Whoops! Anyway, watch my other videos, subscribe, yada yada, whatever. See you in 2027 when they'll finally print Ivyvine Castle.